land. Okay, so when you immigrate, you're going from one established place to another established place. That's immigration. The reason why a foundational Black American is different is because we came to the new land and developed it.
Got you.
When you move locations and you develop that land, that now becomes your lineage. You develop this place. So our people developed this entire country.
This video is only being used for educational purposes solely. What's going on, GATV family? It's your boy Gravitating way back at it again. Alright, I got another one between Anton Daniels and Six the Goddess. And this time they're speaking on FBA versus Black immigrants and breaking down the beef between the two. Also explaining where Tariq Nasheed is coming at. And I'm not going to even speak on this until I play the video. And as we go along, I'll drop in back and forth with my commentary. Stick around, folks. This is a good one.
I talk about money. I talk about marriage. I talk about all of that type of stuff, right? But I got roped into it simply because of what was happening or what's happening down in Florida and Texas and Arizona, and they flying out.
Oh, with the migration.
Yeah, they flying them over to Martha's Vineyard and New York and a lot of these other cities, right? So I got roped into the conversation simply because I was covering it, but I was covering it from a financial perspective of how it's impacting things. Because, for me, it always comes back to the money.
Yeah.
But then, I opened up the lines, and then I had a guy call in that obviously migrated from here, and I didn't believe him. Because when I asked him, I said, hey, did you come here legally or illegally? He was stuttering and he was trying to figure out the words to say or whatever, which that wasn't the big thing, but that set the foundation for the conversation. And so I kind of got roped into the conversation because then they started saying that I was FBA. And that's why I started getting the curiosity from, because it's like, all I'm saying is, how can you take credit for or start to feel like you have just as much say and input on what's going on here when you just came here? And so then they're like, well, Anton, you sound like Tariq Nasheed. I've never heard a Tariq Nasheed.
People say it's not about Tariq. It's about the truth.
I've never heard one stream from him. I have never seen a video. Simply because it's just not interesting me. Like, I'm interested in talking about the money.
See, they thinking you're repeating his talking point because it's just the truth.
Let's look at it from the perspective of taking it back to Atlanta, right? And the Black community and things like that. Such a big subject, but I gotta ask you because I see you talking about it a lot, and so you're more of an expert than I am because I'm not as familiar with what's going on with this whole FBA, ADOS, and all of this other type of stuff. In a general sense, what are your thoughts about that whole subject?
I think it's extremely important. I think that the concept of, and for those that don't know, FBA stands for Foundational Black American. If you think about it, Black American people, I'm talking about generations we are from here. Like,
is that the same thing as ADOS?
No, because ADOS is just the descendants of slaves, where an FBA means the descendants of slaves plus any native or, Aboriginal, or I'm sorry, indigenous Black people here as well.
Okay.
So ADOS is just the descendants of slave people who came over here from Africa, whereas FBA means all Black people who are the foundation of this country.
This is where the problem persists with ADOS and FBA's definitions. They can't seem to be accurate on a stance that is definitive at its core. ADOS says the descendants of slaves. And where did those slaves come from, FBA? FBA says indigenous populations from the states, yet what percentage? Folks, while I believe that yes, there were Black people here in the Americas before chattel slavery, that is before it was introduced, I still don't agree that a minuscule of a population would dominate factual historical records of Black people from Africa being the dominant root and bloodline of the current Black Americans that are here right now, from generationally today.
Right. And so it seems like it's kind of I'm not gonna say a war, but it's kind of like a war of words between immigrants or people that migrate here right? Because it's almost like, and this is just a sentiment that I see, right? It's almost like people feel like people that migrate here or come over, and a lot of the people that migrate here are Nigerian, right? And then they say that those people look down on people that are from America or FBA. Do you generally see that in the streets and the YouTube streets and stuff like that as far as?
And let me explain it this way. Let's say you move to Nigeria. Okay, I'm gonna put it this way. This is gonna be the best way to help understand.
All right.
Let's say you move to Nigeria. You live there for 5-10 years. You work there. You have a home there. Everything. When other Nigerians are discussing their generational experience in their country, when other Nigerians are sitting around talking about their generational traumas, generational events, you, regardless of you living there for 10 years, regardless of you having a job there, they will not allow your input to affect the conversation. It's going to be like, don't you dare come over here. Your mama ain't from here. Your mama's mama ain't from here. Your family did not help build this country. Your family sacrifice didn't go into this country. So the Nigerians would have no problem telling you, excuse me, you can maybe give your little opinion, but please don't. You could not discredit their experience because you're not invested there.
Right.
So that's what it come to here is for a long time as Black Americans here, we have had a lineage and a culture the whole time. It's just been unclaimed. Last night, I saw some of the best FBA culture I saw, and we was doing that Detroit ballroom stepping with the Detroit players. That's foundational Black American culture. So it's interesting to me that for so long, we have been sold this concept that we don't have a culture or that our culture is future, and the whole time we had this rich culture that we didn't even know about.
Right.
So now we're claiming an unclaimed culture, and it's simply to say, just like Black Americans are not going to other Black countries and discrediting their experiences.
Did you guys notice her saying that FBA means people that came here from slavery and developed that land? Again, my main point, most people who champion the phrase FBA can't come to a universal definition of the roots of it. Tariq basically dresses up FBA as indigenous Black Americans, she is saying, slavery basically is from Africa. Yet they stand on the point that FBA has no ties with Africa. Do y'all see the confusion? These are the roots of a lot of the issues on their core morals. It has no basis. Matter of fact, it's a basis of confusion.
Or how they do things. We're asking for the same thing in return. We got where we are here by not saying, let's just deal with it.
Right.
Our ancestors were like, fuck this. We're not about to keep picking this cotton. Like, there was someone picking cotton that was like, I don't want my grandkids doing this. Yep. And even though they knew that it was not going to change in their lifetime, they still went about doing it. So that's how I feel when it comes to the concept of being FBA is, yes, it's true. So let's say my house is dirty as hell, and then I come over here and be like, y'all, you need to clean your house. It's like, ma'am, if you don't go back and clean your house before you tell me about my house. So my thing is, if you're not in your country because you know that the opportunities are not as good as they are here, how can you come here and critique us? How can you come here and call us lazy when all you did was bring your toothbrush, but we built the whole house? So to me, it's not even about a divide or a war. It's just simply about getting reciprocated respect, because you don't see Black Americans going to no other Black country telling people about their stuff. We respect their experience. And it's simply saying we want the same, especially when it is our grandparents' sacrifices of why we can even come here and have these opportunities.
So why is there pushback from people that migrate over here?
We must start breaking down culture versus lineage. Again, the two are getting mixed up with identity. Is there a Black American culture? Hell yeah. That culture has been appropriated and mimicked throughout the world. You would be a fool to not agree with that. But to mix that culture with lineage is backwards. Also, to rebuttal what the Queen said about the Nigerians, and if you were, basically a new resident there and they wouldn't allow you in their business, I see what she's saying. I truly do. But she, like many others who claim or back up FBA, intentionally or maybe unintentionally overlook the xenophobic rhetoric on a daily, by the way, and also I say the vitriol that FBA pushes when reaffirming their positions. That example she used was correct, but understand what you do not need to do is disparage or liken yourself to a Klan member to get your point across. This has been the root of why FBA, for the most part, gets unheard where it should be heard. I'm not talking about social media, by the way. I mean in Congress. You will not be taken serious when you only waste time going after black immigrants for whatever reason to shout and project your claims. When there's a White House sitting right over there, whom you should be delivering these talking points to. I don't see none of that. As I said in the previous videos, no packages by FBA has been transparent in showing its folks, its people, its cult members on here are the next steps we will be doing to get these objectives, affirmed. Instead, it's rallies, it's FBA expos where we get to sell coffee mugs, t-shirts, flags. We get to put our pom-poms on and treat this like a high school football pep rally. There's no objectives being delivered for y'all. But you did get that club museum, and now you think you've made moves. These are the issues that I have. Now, I'm not going to go hard on the queen because you can tell she's respectful. She's just going based off of what they're telling her it is. Now, it's rooted in confusion. I'm telling you, all of this is rooted in confusion.
When I record my voice.
Well, what do you mean?
So it's almost like those that migrate here because you wouldn't believe it. So I got roped into a conversation, which that ain't even my shtick, right?
Yeah,
like
you don't even talk about that type
I talk about money, I talk about marriage, I talk about all of that type of stuff, right? But I got roped into it simply because of what was happening or what's happening down in Florida and Texas and Arizona, and they flying out.
Oh, with the migration.
Yeah, they flying them over to Martha's Vineyard and New York and a lot of these other cities, right? So I got roped into the conversation simply because I was covering it, but I was covering it from a financial perspective of how it's impacting things. Because for me, it always comes back to the money.
Yeah.
But then I opened up the lines, and then I had a guy call in that obviously migrated from here, and I didn't believe him. Because when I asked him, I said, hey, did you come here legally or illegally? He was stuttering and he was trying to figure out the words to say or whatever, which that wasn't the big thing, but that set the foundation for the conversation. And so I kind of got roped into the conversation because then they started saying that I was FBA. And that's why I started getting the curiosity from, because it's like, all I'm saying is, how can you take credit for or start to feel like you have just as much say and input on what's going on here when you just came here? And so then they're like, well, Anton, you sound like Tariq Nasheed. I've never heard a Tariq Nasheed.
People say it's not about Tariq. It's about the truth.
I've never heard one stream from him. I have never seen a video. Simply because it's just not interesting me. Like I'm interested in talking about the money.
See, they thinking you're repeating his talking point because it's just the truth.
I could have stopped it some more and intervene in, but I thought I'll just I had let the video finish and come back with my final conclusion in terms of my commentary. Listen, I also overwhelmingly disagree with the thought that just because you quote unquote built the land, I say if you were here before, you settled. See, if you don't roll over your land that you built, fight to claim it, as yours, and won, there is no guarantee that your justice will come, that your debt that's owed will be received. We fail to understand that we were slaves here. Specifically, the bulk of black Americans who were here, no matter the small numbers of black indigenous folks who were here. See, the exception does not make the rule, but I digress. You can't say you built anything through the eyes of the overseer, meaning the U.S. government. You were slaves. Was it wrong? Obviously so. But there were no actual victories made in the field of battle, in the field of legislation. See, it's hollow words when saying we built the country. Those are hard truths to face. But folks, I fear many of us do not understand what a true revolution is. If we did, then FBA wouldn't be screaming foundational anything. That comes with the price of blood, and that of a victor's blood. What victory was won as foundational black Americans, y'all? The fight still continues. Did y'all forget? Or rather, I see FBA ended it when they chose to unify as Americans instead of your own nation here. Segregation would have been key in pushing onwards, honestly speaking, in terms of forming a new nation. But from where I'm at, that is a long day to come, y'all. Look, I come off sometimes as arrogant, but I swear to you, that's not what it is. I understand, what it is to claim something. And we have no nation here in the U.S. You might as well say you're an American citizen. Nothing wrong with that from my eyes. If you're not going to have your own nation within this nation, there's no need to keep telling me the rhetoric. There's no need to worry about talking about what other black folks got going on. They fled to come here. I'm hearing this. They fled. All right. Most black Americans were brought here. And guess what? You had to stick to the game of whatever it is the master was telling you, right? To the point that you are conformed as cohorts now. Look, man, it's a hard truth to face, but the descendants of slaves in the United States hasn't won any victory in the field of battle to proclaim any nation. Would I have liked to see that? Of course. These are my brothers and sisters in arms, but that's not what the case is today. So, you got to tone down the bravado when it's against other blacks, and then it's all pussyfooting around when you standing in front of that white boy. That white boy still don't fear or see any of y'all smoke. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And if we deal with that truth, we'll understand what it means to deal as a people, as a coalition, where our voice will be heard louder. But as long as you're making enemies where they can be your actual, combats in arms, your brothers and sisters in arms, you're making enemies of, I'm telling you, ain't nothing gonna be pushed for. You got to be careful who you claim to be your leaders. You guys keep saying Tariq ain't your leaders, but he's the face of your so-called xenophobic movement. It's time to really wake up and take the truth for what it is. Stop getting so emotional about facts. Cut it out. These are facts that you got to deal with, and once you understand the facts, you'll know how to move. But once again, as I said, no packages, no transparency, just a bunch of get-togethers with faded ass Vivica Fox coming along with 1 foot in, 1 foot out, Dr. Smalls of the world, Dr. Kabas of the world, that they can't tell you where they're at with their movement. They can't tell you the direction it's going in, but you know what they can tell you? Let me get that donation. And let me teach you something about donations. Donations don't come without transparency. Donations don't come without organization. Donations don't come without a solid, in front of you leader. Donations don't come, folks. You're just throwing your money away. This has been Gravitating Away, truly frustrated at my people. But I hope you like, share, comment, subscribe. But you know how we do it over here. Always keep coming back. But for real though, I was frustrated listening to some of this.
If it's love, I want everything. Touch my soul, touch my heart, don't judge my mental. They told me that life is simple, been real since Papa Pimple. I started out in the Renault Sonata, the presidential. Speak once and listen twice. They told me that less is simple.